Hello, hello. Welcome to the Sacred and Rooted podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Nickel. And this episode, I think, is one of maybe the most important ones I'll ever do, but who knows? At least to date. And it's called, if you haven't noticed the title, it's called What You Are Here For. And I feel like this is just sort of like overflowing from me. I was on vacation last week. And so I had a lot of time to just think, to slow down, to meditate, to just be kind of in a more ethereal space than I am normally in my life, because my life is full of work and kids and things to do, right? So when I'm, especially last week, I went with just my partner. There's no kids. All the kids were with their other parent, and so that was wicked. But also it really, really allowed us to slow down, and on purpose. If one of us started feeling like, okay, we should go do an excursion, or we should go check this out, we'd both be like, okay, no, we need to just be slower than we think we should be, almost, you know what I mean? So we did that, excuse me, all last week, and got back last night, really late, I guess really this morning, early in the morning, and I started hearing that Billie Eilish song, what is it called? What Was I Made For? From the Barbie movie. And I obviously had heard a bunch of times, but I never really listened to the words. I just kind of floated along with the tune of it because it is very angelic sounding to me and just ethereal. And so I love just the feel of it. Who knows what the words were. But on the way down to the vacation, I had watched the Barbie movie for the first time on the plane. And of course, understood finally why everyone was ranting and raving about it, and just super impressed with, why it was so popular. So I'm a little bit behind the eight ball when it comes to movies and songs. If you didn't know that about me, that is definitely a fact. Anyway, so for the last 24 hours, that song has been rolling around in my head, and it feels like it's kind of turned on or activated or clarified a bunch of things that I really want to get out on a podcast episode. And so I wanted to call it What You Are Here For, in an attempt to clarify for anyone. If you're struggling with how the world looks, and I mean, it looks crazy right now. Some of the stuff that's going on is it's terrible. It's chaotic. It's not a place that I don't think most people really want to live in or be a part of anymore. And so we really need to come together. This podcast is kind of like a call of the ages, maybe, to just don't numb out, don't tune out, don't, put your head in the sand and just not look any whichever direction, don't watch the news anymore and all that. As much as you'd like to, and maybe you need to for a short period, but I really, really am, asking every one of us to tune on, to really be activated, and to ask yourself, what am I, what you are here for is to live in your joy, live in love, live in your soul's authentic expression. And so instead of getting caught up in all of the crazy shit that's happening everywhere in the world or all over the place, in your neighborhood, even across the world, anywhere, to start way smaller than that, and to just really, it's so much more graspable to look at yourself and to manage yourself. And so are you spending your days in your joy? And I don't mean literally laughing all day or feeling like you're on, I don't know, like the best thing that ever happened to you, kind of that, not that like amplified, kind of like, not amplified, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the temporary, like really high joy, but to really feel like you're infused and you're kind of like moving through your life with an underlying deep sense of joy and satisfaction or meaning, however, whatever words you want to put onto it. And to ask yourself, like, what are you doing in your life? I guess not what are you doing in your life, but is what you're doing in your life an accurate representation of what your soul desires and what brings your soul joy? Are you embodying love in your life, in whatever situations you're faced with every day, in whatever interactions, relationships, anything? What are you bringing to the table? And is that predominantly love, joy, and a deep reverence and understanding of your inherent holiness or divinity, or like your intuition and your soul wisdom? Is that in the forefront for you? And is that your guiding light or your compass? Or is that what's guiding you and leading you through your life? And if it is, fantastic. If there's space for tweaking, then great. Work on the tweaking. We desperately need people that are like clicked in to their actual lives, and not like we cannot change the world to a world where we actually all can look at it and be proud, without actually doing something different than what we are doing now. And that is not going to take only one person. We need to all get in on it. Because I think from what I've seen, there are very few world leaders that are, or even municipal leaders, or even, provincial or state, or however your country is set up. There are very few leaders that actually have true vision for a sustainable, for equality, for equality in every sense, not just one or two parts of the puzzle. And so if we're working towards that, if we're working towards a world that's more just, that's sustainable, that we can even all live in, maybe in like another 1,000 years or whatever. I can't remember what all the timelines are for climate change, but if we're looking for something that we can, give our kids, give our grandkids, and be proud of the kind of pivot that we took with the world in our lifetimes, we need to get moving. and it's not, maybe it is, but it doesn't have to be, doing something really wild and big where, you start a nonprofit and you go look after poverty, or it totally could be, if that's your thing. You could even just support that nonprofit. It's a nonprofit that already exists, and through time or money, support it. But most importantly is that fundamentally we need a tipping point of people in this world that use or have love, hold love and joy and empathy as their main values, and move in the world, operate in the world with those values. And so just, for a minute, even imagine, whatever your job is right now, literally, okay, so I just want to say something else too. What you are here for has nothing to do with what your job is. that is a secondary thing. What you are here for is to share love, share joy, be in community with your fellow humans, and to just be love. And so after that, you could be the janitor, you could be a teacher, you could be a Supreme Court judge. It doesn't matter, because anywhere you go, you will have those values as like your guiding light. And so, you'll change everywhere you go. You'll change the way that industry or that business runs, and influence it to then become a better, more sustainable, more everything that we want and less of everything we don't want. You'll change it, you'll influence it. And the more people that we can get on board for this, the better. Because we do need a tipping point of people. We don't need everyone in the world to do the same thing, but we need a bunch of people to really take that to heart. And so just sit with me for a minute and imagine, maybe you're a teacher and, you can be a teacher, and we've all had teachers that are shitty teachers, and that doesn't do much for anything. But you have a massive influence on children when they're in a very influential age. And so, if you actually brought your joy to your work, and you brought your joy to what you're teaching them, and you brought your creativity and your authenticity. And, I had, my son has a teacher who, I actually thanked him a few weeks ago because, here's a little short story off the side of this point that I'm making. but yeah, he had sent an email, and he had complained a little bit about my son and his friends and like something they were doing after school. And the teacher had, written out the whole story. And so I said to my son, did you do this? Because that's actually, that's not cool. Like that's really, really rude and disrespectful. Anyways, he says, no, I didn't do that. I didn't, after he said, don't go in there a couple times, then I left and I went home. And so I said to the teacher, I said, I talked to him about, obviously the fact, what parts of the story were disrespectful, and that, that is not an actual thing he should ever be doing. But also he did say he didn't actually go inside and continue kind of not listening. He went home, and to the teacher's credit, he said, okay, I think you might be right. I checked with the kids, and they said, that your son wasn't in there. I could have been wrong. I must have maybe thought I saw him, but didn't see him. So don't worry about it. Sorry, I apologize and whatever. And so I said to him, I said, thank you for being able to do that, because not all teachers can do that. Some of them are just, there to be right, there to be the commander, whatever. They're just not in rolling with their authenticity, where it's like, it's not a huge deal if you make a mistake, if you can kind of roll with it and just, oh, yeah, you're right. I could have seen that wrong. I could have thought I saw him there, but because I just saw him, 5 minutes ago. But yeah, I could be wrong. Everyone agreed that he wasn't there, so it seems like that's true. And then just go with it. Instead of trying to hide it and being like, no, I saw him there. And so I thanked him, because for my son, he does have a couple, he's had a history, a little bit of a history. He's coming off of it now, but, where he likes to be in the moment, in the fun, even if the fun means not so much fun for somebody else. So, not necessarily listening to the teachers or being quiet in class. He's in the back having a real good time. So he does have a history with some teachers that, I can say that it's probably not too far off. But in this case, I said, I really appreciate the fact that you could kind of roll with it and not necessarily just put him in the same basket as all of his other friends if he actually did leave, and actually that's like good for him to be able to say, okay, no, I think this is enough for me. I'm headed out. And so my point is, wherever you are in your life, whatever job you have, it could be, you could bring your skills, you can bring your joy, you can bring your love and enthusiasm and your empathy. You can bring all of that to whatever job you have, to wherever you are in your life. And that changes the experience for everyone, for you especially. And so if we can have more people, so imagine you're in, I don't know, like a board meeting somewhere in some big giant company, and first of all, there's more women at board meetings than there ever has been, which is great. Second of all, are the people on the board motivated by making the company more money, and that's its top priority? Are they motivated by a fair pay for everybody? Are they motivated by climate change? Are they what is their motivation? And so if you can then bring your values into a room like that and influence people in a sense that, if someone speaks up for something that maybe isn't something that was ever discussed before, there's lots of situations now where companies are doing great things. Like they're really transitioning into, more social activism, more, where did my products even come from? How does that food chain work, or that chain of things work? And do I like where all of the things are coming from? Does everyone get treated fairly? Does everyone get paid fairly? All of these questions are so brilliant because they change the way the world works, and the priorities that look, what our world has always run on as far as a priority is basically just, how do I make more money? And so if we are changing the world already into one that cares about other things, because we don't need to hoard money. People don't need to hoard money anymore. They can share lots of their money and probably still have millions if they want. I don't think it would really cause anyone any harm at all. And it would seriously resolve poverty and a lot of other distribution issues. So as people heal, as people are authentic, as their souls are just kind of shining in the foreground or out front, instead of feeling like they need to be masked up, pretend they're someone else, do what everyone else is doing or get ostracized, this kind of thing, we need to just break those chains and go into things and bring our whole selves and say things that maybe seem scary, like maybe no one's said them yet, or maybe most people, you're not sure if they even care. But you'd be surprised. I am actually continually surprised at once you say something as a change or an idea, and if it rings true, if it's really a solid, sustainable idea, people can resonate with that because they feel the depth of the truth in the change or in the tweak that maybe the company needs to take. And then they'll do it, because after a while, it doesn't seem so scary once you talk it through or once you kind of make a little game plan. And so the more industries that can be influenced with that kind of vision for the world will change the world. When people come to work and they're pissed off because of whatever relationship, whatever friendship, their kids, if they've, they're resentful because, they didn't do something they wish they had done when they were younger or any other time in their life. They've been holding themselves back because they thought this was the safest path, which is safe is kind of a, like I say that in air quotations. It's kind of an illusion. It is not actually a fact. So if we can get really comfortable with just being ourselves and healing where we need healing, to acknowledge our wholeness, then when we bring our whole selves to anything, we encourage other people to do the same and to see another way of doing things and to see another way of being. And literally, we all think when we see people like that, we're attracted to them. We are just like, wow, they just feel good. And so you want to support them. You want to interact with them. You want to be a part of whatever they're being a part of. And so it's really like the law of attraction at its best, because then you get that community that builds behind you, and we can do anything together. It's just when we think that we're just one person trying to do trying to solve all of the things. None of us are here to solve all the problems. That's no offense, but that's a little bit of our egos trying to make us feel like, we're the greatest, we're the best. We have somehow been summoned down to earth to solve all of the major issues. And that's totally not it. None of us are the only saving grace here, but we all have a part to play, and we all need to play our part, because none of us can do it alone. So the more, the merrier. And so what you are here for is super simple, but so broad at the same time, where it's get to know yourself, get to know your intuition, have a relationship with your soul, your heart's desires, your soul whispers, maybe your soul screams, depending on how long you've been neglecting to listen to your soul. And your curiosities and your joy, just follow it. You're allowed to feel joy and ease. Don't feel guilty about it. And the more that you can, marinate in that and really live in that, just the more creativity you'll have access to, the more creativity you'll have access to. And the more, it's almost like if we're too busy being stressed out and too busy, literally too busy, and then stressed out and just you're in your little zone and you're just like, okay, I gotta do this, gotta do that. I'm looking down the whole time, looking down, because I'm I don't want to get volunteered for friggin' one more thing. You're not actually in the flow of your life where you're in communion with the universe and noticing signs or noticing, opportunities when the universe puts them right in friggin' front of your face, because you're looking down and you're too busy just with the stuff of the 3D world and literally all of that. The priority needs to be the connection you have with your heart, with your intuition, with your timelessness. And once you have that as the priority, the chaos and the friggin' crazy shit that happens in the world will be second, but you'll also have so much more bandwidth for it. You'll be in a more creative mode. And so then answers will come, or connections will be made, and solutions will happen, and just people being happier and more excited about their lives will change the world. My partner and I were talking last week about, the words we use, the attitudes we bring to things, and how, I hate to use the term manifesting because it's kind of overused a bit, but how our words and our intentions create our reality. And so just to be mindful of that and to try and really dig into why maybe you're thinking, what's triggering you. If you're having an experience where you're going to a meeting, or you're going to, I don't know, a new job, or you're going to meet a client, something, or you're going to go pick up your kids from school and you're already pissed about something. You're still mad from the thing they did yesterday, And so it's like, okay, it's each of our responsibilities to show up in our best way. And so you feel free, we all have free will, right? To show up for your kids after school, mad about the thing from the other day, and, put in some little digs so that they remember that was a really stupid thing they did, or, they should never talk to you like that again, or, whatever, however you deal with your little triggers. Or you could sit there and, remember the friggin' beauty of each person. Like, even when people do things that disappoint you, or that you think are, wow, how could they have ever done that? Most people at their heart have like good reason to do something, or they have a reason. And so it's like to get into that conversation and the dialogue of, hey, like an actual adult conversation of, this makes me feel like that. Like, I can't think of an example right now, but even with my kids, sometimes it's just as simple as, your tone. Like, what's with the tone, especially with the teenagers? Maybe their words are not even, if you took the words and you just put them in a text and you could put any tone to them you want, it could mean 100 different things. But sometimes with the teenagers, it's a little tony. And, I've been working with one of my kids on this particularly because she uses tone very well. In lots of unconscious ways. And so just to say, like, it's like, and she'll say, she's like, I didn't say anything mean or whatever. And it's true. Like, literally the words that she said were not offensive at all. It was the way that it was presented. And so I'll give her examples and I'll use different tones and I'll say the same thing she said. And it's like, here's, this sentence happy, this sentence crabby, this sentence like, wow, why are you a moron? And then, she laughs, or she gets it. Like, she'll get the difference, obviously. She's a very smart girl. But I think she just underestimates some of the bitiness on her tone sometimes when she's a little tired or a little impatient. And so this is just something to learn. But it's like, it's just with random conversations. It's not like I'm taking it like, wow, she really disrespects me. How can she be so rude? And no. And it's true. Like, I'm thinking, wow, how could she be so rude? But I'm not letting it trigger me down to like a basic level of like, wow, my child really disrespects me. What a friggin', I'm going to teach her. And then just get into something even more ridiculous. I'm trying to convey how reasonable people that mostly can see that every person is like, they're good people. Most people are really good people. But there's lots of little triggers that people have, and then it turns into a conversation about something that's not even what happened. It's like a deeper level of something that has been unresolved or, unresolved really. And so that's why I say, like, what are you here for? Or when I say what you are here for, is to really allow your wholeness to blossom and to look under the rug of your essence and just understand that the parts of you that are hurt, the parts of you that feel like, you're disappointed at something that happened whenever, could be decades ago, honestly. But to really look at those and just understand that your timelessness, your soul is unaffected by that. Like, those incidences do not make you who you are. You are authentic. Your soul is amazing. It's wiser than a million computers, a million AI things. It's like smarter than anything else that I even know. And so, like, to really understand that, like, just because shit happens to you in your life, it's not like, it doesn't actually like take a piece of you away or somehow make a piece of you or part of you like damaged. It's, your soul is still like completely perfection. And so if you can let that shine through the world, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And to really allow yourself whatever healing, whatever space, whatever you need, whatever journaling, whatever spiritual practices, or whatever exercise, whatever works for you, to really understand and accept yourself and to show yourself compassion. Because when we can show ourselves compassion, then we're actually able to show others compassion in ways that our society right now doesn't seem to be able to, for the most part. I mean, it's certainly coming, but it's right now there is a lot of black and white divisive politics or opinions, and it makes sense in the fact that the world is changing, and I think it is changing for the better in the long term, and I just don't know how long that is. But people are scared. So, there's going to always be people that are like, it's like, I kind of was feeling a little more comfortable or a little safer or it was like a little more reliable, the way it's always been. So I'll take the way it's always been over something new because, like, I don't know exactly what the new will look like, and that scares the shit out of me. But I encourage each of us to really let go of the fear or have the fear and continue to move each day, each little baby step in love, in compassion, in empathy, so that even if we do the whole thing scared shitless, we have moved in the right direction because we're not governed by the fear and making a fear-based choice. We are acknowledging, okay, yeah, this is kind of freaking, who knows? There's a lot less like things that we, at least when I was a kid, maybe it was just my childhood, but there was a lot of things I thought, like, this is just the way it is, I guess. This is just the way it is. Okay, that's just the way that is. And now, I mean, thank God, it's stuff that should have crumbled a long time ago is crumbling now, and it's brilliant. But it doesn't mean that it feels a little unstable because it's new and it's different, and it's like, okay, well, what are we building here to replace this, or because the new thing isn't quite here yet. And so it's like in a little state of flux, and that can really scares everyone, but it's also like some people are a little more in their fear and let it kind of take over than others. And so, yeah, if it always comes back to us. I think it was Eckhart Tolle who had the quote that said something like, if you get the inside right, the outside will fall into place. And I think it's going to be a little more work than maybe just like fall into place, but it's true. Like, if we get our insides right and we're like running our lives through the perspective of love, empathy, compassion, like everything that we want to see more of in the world, peace, if that's our filter, then everything we do, if it can run through that filter, then we're moving the world one person at a time towards that vision for the world. And so that's what you're here for. That's what each one of us is here for, is to literally create and I hate to say this because it's a little religious, I guess, for most people, but like literally create. We create heaven on earth. Right now, we have created hell on earth in most cases. And it's not like literally that bad, but it is really not, like, it is bad. It's terrible. It's pretty rough for a lot of, it's rough. We can do way better than this. And so I challenge each one of you, and I invite each one of you to really own what you're here for. And what you're here for isn't, it literally has nothing to do with what you work as. It's what you are, your beingness in each thing that you're doing during the day, and each interaction you're having, and each, whatever jobs you have. Maybe you have more than one. But just to really don't get stuck in the weeds on this, because it really can focus you if you are using those values as a way forward. And so, yeah, if you ever are getting, if you're feeling confused, overwhelmed, like you don't have any power in the whole thing or way to change anything, start small, but like literally the biggest impact you can have is with yourself and how you are, and then how you interact with people, because over the course of your life, you come in contact with so many people and you affect so many people, and maybe we're not all aware of the people we impact all the time. But even if you think of, how many people a day you come across, even just at a line in a store, or, a walk in your neighborhood, and that's not saying like that's gonna like be, the most seismic shift the world's ever going to see is you talking to your neighbor. But I think that you really don't underestimate the kindnesses that can really reciprocate more kindness and ripple out. Because we all have no idea what people are, working on, celebrating, struggling with, all that. We have no idea. And so our job, each one of us, is to just bring the peace, bring the kindness, bring the compassion, bring the love, bring the joy. I actually just got myself a bracelet that came in the mail today. And I think it's called watermelon tourmaline. And it's really pretty. It's so pretty. And it's like, I think it's if I remember correctly, it's like a joy, kind of lighthearted kind of crystal. And so I decided I wanted to get it because I needed a new bracelet, and I wanted to get something that would remind me on my body, like kind of like an adornment of whatever sort, to just be a visual reminder for more joy, for more ease, to really soak it in, and to then also be that for other people, and to encourage them, and to cheer them on, and to just feel like, all right, like, we've got this. Anyway, that was a little long, potentially. But I really, what you are here for, it's so important. And I feel like people get really caught up in, what's my job? What should I be looking to do? What should I be, literally, I can't possibly be doing this job any longer because it's not my dream job. And it's like, it actually has less to do with fundamentally what you're doing and more with what you're being. Because imagine a world where, we address poverty because there's no more hoarding of riches. There's way less to no mental health because the 3D world looks way less insane and much more aligned with our insides, and what our internal vision for the world is finally expressed externally. And holy smokes with that, I hope I live long enough to see that. And even if I don't, I'll be cheering from wherever in the hell I am in the universe. Anyways, All right. So I hope that that inspires you. I hope that maybe that gives you something to think about. If you did like the episode, please share it with a friend you think may enjoy it as well. It really does help spread the word and spread the influence and the message across the interwebs and all that. Yeah, and I will see you next time. Take care. Have a beautiful day.